Let me tell you about Halo 3 ODST.
Bungie, and by proxy Microsoft, had a firm grasp on a large portion of the console shooter market with the Xbox flagship franchise, Halo. With 3 immense successes under their belt, the latest being a critical darling from its blockbuster campaign, 5-star multiplayer experience, and immensely popular creative tool within it, Bungie wanted to ride this wave even farther. The rest of the world did as well, with various ideas and finances thrown around to other projects in the Halo world. From a cancelled movie that changed hands before falling apart due to seemingly a lack of focus with its constant halting of production, to a cancelled episodic game series directed by Peter Goddamn Jackson,
Potatoes.
Hollywood saw the potential to milk this franchise like a cow out to pasture. It was in the wake of the cancellation of these big projects, some of which were done because of budget cuts, that the team who designed the subject of today's video came together. While a lot of Bungie was working on their swan song for the franchise, they had the budget and time frame to have another team pull together concepts for a smaller scale side campaign. After tossing around ideas for what the story should involve, including a Covenant-centric title, they settled on the black-helmeted orbital drop shock troopers and set it in the newly invaded and recently abandoned Earth, specifically New Mombasa, after Halo 2, giving them a chance to create this darker, almost noir-inspired adventure. With the shortest time of development in Bungie's career, lasting a shocking 14 months, it's incredible with what exactly this game accomplished at presenting a different Halo game in tone, scope, and how its story is delivered in tandem with introducing a game mode that was integral at extending the franchise's success and future titles. Today, I plan on talking about my personal favorite entry in the Halo franchise in a few aspects, the human side of the Halo series, that is, Halo 3 ODST.
There's one opinion that I've been pretty consistent about throughout the entirety of my channel. It's that I really enjoy the Halo games. I think that they are a great next step in storytelling in a shooter game that isn't quite the levels of like a BioShock or a Half-Life, but is a step above like your Dooms and your Duke Nukems and stuff. It's a series with a cinematic scope in a way that I enjoyed from the very first time I played through Halo 1. And I followed the games pretty closely up through really the Reach era was kind of when Bungie jumped ship, I kind of jumped ship. I toyed around with 4, I played 4, and I was pretty disappointed by it, and I feel like that was a sure sign that I'm past the point of enjoying Halo. But I feel like I was at my peak enjoyment of the franchise during the 3rd iteration, and when ODST came out, I was so excited when I played through this game, and really enjoyed how different it felt from the Halo experience. You know, I liked Halo 1's story a lot, it felt very contained, and 2 had some cool moments, and so did 3, but I felt like I did not care about the story of 3 as much as I did 1 and 2. But ODST I enjoyed because it was something a little different, and you could say that they mastered a lot of the things that they started in this and Reach. They toyed with a voice cast that everyone had a more dynamic relationship with each other. This felt like the setup to Reach, but I really appreciate the level of detail that went into how different this game felt than all of the other Halo games that preceded it. But I personally prefer a lot of the characterization and world building and how the story is told in ODST more. I also personally appreciate a lot of the detail that went into the design of this game. I'm talking things like, obviously your character's not as strong as the Spartans, so they can't carry multiple weapons at once. They can't dual wield anything, they can't pull turrets or anything like that. They're pretty locked to that. But I also love the health bar system. I love the HUD in this game. I love that you have like this night vision that like lights up, and it creates a different visual aesthetic to the game. But I also really appreciate the difference in how the story is told. You know, I like the noir tinged aesthetic that the story has, with you being this rookie who ends up waking up after everybody else has already had a lot of the adventure, and you're trying to piece together the story up to the point that you're at now. I really like that approach, and I like that it makes New Mombasa this almost hub world that you need to sort of explore to find secrets and uncover the story. I love the look of this game. I love the rain-soaked New Mombasa that you traverse across, and I love that everything about this game was fine-picked as far as how it was put together, because the whole tone and visual scope of the game was meant to be not as grand because it's not as big of a story. You're not a space marine, you're not a Spartan, you're just a guy, you're a human. And everything from the sound design to the soundtrack seemingly was tailored in a way to fit that, because not only does the music kind of enhance that humanistic and almost noir-esque aspect, the sound design also seems a lot more sharp, a lot more punchy. It's built around the sort of fact that you are a human, you need to be careful when you're traversing the game, and I love that about it. And I like the juxtaposition of exploring New Mombasa versus the more Halo-centric levels of you finding a piece of the puzzle and reliving the memory through one of your squad mates and how they ended up handling their initial drop onto the planet. You know, whether you're playing as Dutch and Mickey as they continue through their pillage through New Mombasa with the explosives, or Buck looking for Dare in the initial part of the game, or Romeo's crawl through the police department. There's a lot of memorable set pieces and levels in tandem with the overarching noir delivery that the game has. I also, like, going back to the music for a second, love a lot of the music in this game. While I don't mind the huge in scope sounds that are in the normal Halo soundtracks, I like the very pulled back nature of a lot of it. They don't lose some of that scope on some of the propulsive tracks, like the one that's in Romeo's level in particular I really enjoy, but the main theme that's in the rookie sections is one of my favorite pieces in the Halo franchise, if not of all time in gaming. It sets that, again, I keep using the word, but that noir aesthetic of mystery. It plants intrigue. It gets you ready for the tone and scope and visual aesthetic the game is trying to deliver, and I feel like it helps it reach it tenfold, you know. And in tandem with the cinematic scope that's in a lot of the Halo games, the visuals in this game complement that artistic choice as well. Like, a lot of the cutscenes with you investigating the clues that you're finding are great. And I love that they fill the world of New Mombasa for you to explore as the rookie with Easter eggs, with nooks, and crannies to explore, to find, you know, the voice logs that really tell the story of New Mombasa from a different perspective. It's a lot. There's a lot in this game that is in such a tight, small campaign that feels a lot meatier than your average side story typically is, or at least was at around this time. But I feel like it's a game like ODST that helped, you know, a lot of other franchises really show that you can give a lot of heart into a story that may not involve the main character. But not only is a single player game, because I love, if I haven't expressed that enough, I love that they've combined the typical style of Halo games of combing through Covenant, whether in Warthogs or with a sniper rifle or with tanks, with the sort of explorative aspects of the rookie side. But they introduced one of my favorite types of gameplay in the Horde mode of this game, Firefight. I talk about in a video that's dropping later on this month with Evan and Tyler on how much I like Horde mode in Gears of War, and that, to me, the only firefight that really was good to me was the one in ODST. I love the firefight in this game. I love the maps that they put you in. I love that it's not... They don't have all of the bells and whistles that are in Reach, because I feel like a lot of the bells and whistles they added in Reach, like loadouts and stuff like that, were pulled back from the experience that made Firefight so intrinsically cool in ODST to begin with. And I love that it's fully realized here in the best way possible to me. I also like that it, in general, is just a nice, different type of multiplayer. Like, they included a disc of the multiplayer that's in, like, the Halo 3 map packs, and a disc that you can play online or offline now. But I like that in this version of the game, or at least in the core ODST, they gave you a different type of competitive style multiplayer, which also fits in the camaraderie story that is told. Because while Halo Reach was also a game with a big, you know, batch of characters that all had chemistry and relationships, I like that in ODST, it's where it started, and I appreciate it more than in Reach. You know, I like Reach a lot, and I talk about that in, again, the video that's dropping later on in the month, but ODST just hit better to me personally. I think it's just a game that I enjoy a lot more the story anyway. And I think it's because of how the story is told. You know, Reach is a much more linear style story, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I more enjoyed the two different stories going on at the same time in ODST, and I think that that's what sets it apart to me as a more gratifying experience to me personally, in tandem with all those other bells and whistles that I talked about, the design choices, the sound design choices, the soundtrack choice, and all that sort of stuff I think is really cool too. But I like that, if anything, this set up the Halo franchise to, or at least set Bungie up to do a bigger type of this story later on down the line. And I really appreciate this game as a whole for what it did for Halo as a franchise. It gave it a lot more legs than I think people may have realized, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about it today in my next classic game breakdown. But those are my thoughts on Halo 3 ODST. Do you like this game? Do you like side games? You know, you have the Shovel Knight side games. There's a lot of games that happen nowadays that are like side stories involving other characters, or in this case, it takes a whole type of character, the ODSTs that are all around in the Halo games, and creates this whole story out of a batch of characters you may not have ever found to begin with. But what do you think about it? What do you think of those? What do you think of ODST side games? Let's talk about that in the comments down below. If you did like this video, be sure to give it a like. If you want to see more of my music, gaming, and general nerdery content, be sure to subscribe. Special thanks to the patrons. If you would like to join their ranks, get early access to content, get exclusive content, help drive the community, it's linked in the description. I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you so very much for watching. I have been Viral Rack. You guys have today's live situations, and I'll see you another day.